I'm K Kailea, the Wild Executive, and I have the pleasure to be back on this show for the second time, would you believe it? And this is about the revolution that happens after the book comes out. So in this episode, you can expect a few truth bombs and also a deep dive into what it takes for you to go to your next level, to let go of all of the old stories and the old beliefs, and how you can realign yourself by being really honest, and how to walk yourself back home to yourself and return to your essence.
Welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. As you know, this is the number one place to uncover real world solutions and real world problems that are keeping you up at night. And if you're a high achieving woman that's secretly whispering, there's got to be more to this, I think this episode is meant for you. I'm your host, Prosper Taruvinga, and I want to welcome, for the second time running, my guest, Tina. Tina, wie geht's?
Danke, gut. It's amazing to be back a second time. It was fun the first time round, so I'm looking forward to the encore. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I was telling you that I do have a lot of guests, but there are some guests that just leave you wanting more, and you have been one of those, and I'm hoping our viewers are in for a treat. And for those that are meeting Tina for the very first time, I think this is right about the time you really have to subscribe to the Online Prosperity Show, because the first time that Tina joined us, she actually shared her raw and powerful story of living behind a picture-perfect corporate life after burnout and, dare I say, heartbreaking miscarriages. Now, it was honest, it was healing, and it was just the wake-up call that many of you needed. And judging by the response that that video had, that's the reason why we've gotten Tina back on to the show. So they say that lightning doesn't strike twice, but hey, when it comes to transformation, I think Tina is basically a full-blown weather system. All right, so expect a thunderstorm, not the kind that is created, by energy-directed weapons, but the kind that leaves you with an energy that's directed to you having a business that's profitable and enjoyable. So Tina is back, but this time with even more fire. We were just talking behind the scenes, and I was just excited with myself for having made the decision to bring her back. Like I said, since we last spoke, she's not only deepened her impact, she's gone on and launched transformational retreats, published a best-selling book, and also guided a tribe of powerhouse women through her signature REALIGN method. We're going to be diving into all of that in the episode. And of course, she's done everything that she wants to do. And now she's also just recently told me she's become a book dollar, and we're going to be talking about what that actually means and how she's helping people really come to terms with their message and put it in a book format. And no, I mean, obviously don't let this accolades and everything else that she's done fool you. She hasn't bought the horse yet, but she's still beekeeping and thrifting her way through life like the soulful rebel that she is. So today we're going to be exploring the evolution after the breakthrough, because I think walking away is one thing, but what comes next? All right, so stick around, because what Tina is offering isn't hustle or even hype or any hollow mantras or any of those 5 a.m. wake-ups. I think it's just a call back home. I mean, home to your body, to your truth, to your joy. And if ever you've asked yourself, is that all there is? I want you to comment in the comments below, realign, because today's episode is just going to do that for you. No, Tina, you can tell I'm excited, right? And I could go on and talk about things I'm not even qualified to talk about. So you're back for round two. Tell us, what has changed since we last spoke, and what has stayed beautifully the same?
A whole lot has changed, and all for the better, because you make that really gutsy decision to put your story out, to publish the book. And I didn't realize just how much evolution came after the book. And I call it a portal that you go through. Once your story is out there, you can literally go and stand in the storm and go, you know what, life? Give me what you got. I'm so grounded in who I am. I've embarked in a lot more public speaking, and also sharing my story. I realized just how much of a permission that is for other women to actually come out and say, you know what, I'm not okay, and I am not all perfect, and I feel like I'm crumbling on the inside, which set me on the path to look at what did I do after that. Like you said, the aftermath of walking away from it all. There was a whole lot of nothing for a while because I had no identity left. When someone would have asked me, who do you are and what do you do? I would have said, I'm Tina K Kailea. I'm the general manager of XYZ Publishing. Uh, but that was being validating from the outside. And I think once that was stripped away, I didn't know who I was. If someone asked me, what do you do? And I go, I don't know, I'm finding myself. And obviously then the mind comes in to go, yeah, that sounds a bit wishy-washy, which based on what I've gone through was sort of the antidote of anything that I would have previously embodied. So I took a long breather and then dabbled into all sorts of different modalities: somatic, trauma-informed counseling. There was sound journeys, yoga, you name it. All those different things that I would have probably snickered at when I was still in this corporate thing, because I didn't allow my body to listen to what I really wanted. And in that stillness and not rushing off from meeting to meeting and job to job, just sitting at home, a few of these whispers came back through on what I used to enjoy when I was little. So then I embarked on not just our own conditioning, subconscious beliefs, and the stories we have and we hold. It's also a little bit of epigenetics because, uh, for those of you who don't know, I'm from Germany. The accent might give it still away. There's a certain cultural thing on how you perceive. Germans are timely, they're organized, they're structured, they're rigid. So living into that, and now living in New Zealand where things are, you can let five be square, as they say, was quite a thing. But by moving halfway across the world, it doesn't mean you leave everything behind. You're carrying some of that behavior pattern and stuff that you internalized with you. And that set me on the path to basically frame that realign whole program, because I've done certain steps. And this is like a decade's worth of self discovery and finding myself condensed into something that only takes 2 months to go. I'm going to pass these tools on because I don't want women to suffer for as long as I have and feeling in complete free fall, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for opening us up to that excitement in your life. And in our last chat, if I would remember, you had just opened the door to feminine leadership, and that was the thing that you were really excited about. What does it look like to actually leave it since then?
I have a lot more freedom to design my business in a way that leaves that freedom that I was craving. So I can do and be creative. I can spend half a day on a Tuesday morning being with horses instead of being in an office, and still being able to do all the other things because there's an alignment. And walking your talk and living that becomes a bit of a magnet for women, magnet and a trigger, because a lot of women desire the life that I live, but they feel it's impossible for them, and only other people can do that. And I was one of them, so I know exactly what goes on inside them. So my avatar, as they say, when you look at clients, is basically a former version of myself. It's like talking to a holographic version, and that allows me to really listen and hear the women. And if they're trying to, push me away or are not wanting to let me in, I can trust that I understand them on a really deep level, and I can say to them, look, it's okay. I know this is uncomfortable. I know this is not something you're used to, but I promise you, there's so much joy on the other side of what you are trying to keep close, and the armor you wear. It's okay to put it all down. You feel lighter. You'll be able to be vulnerable, and that is so freeing when we allow ourselves to say, you know what, my life's in tatters. I mean, I've got so much stuff happening that I'm not happy with. And not being afraid of the consequences, because when we go through radical change, not everybody on the outside knows who we are anymore. And I've had people say, "Oh, you changed. You're doing that now." And there's a little air of judgment in there, and I go, "Yep, that's me." And I let it be. And if someone doesn't like it, it's too bad. It's my life. And the last part of my framework is being grounded and allowing yourself to implement and live from that place of higher purpose, for a better word.
Absolutely. And I quite like what you're saying. I mean, so many people, like you say, don't quite know what freedom really is. You know, there's so many people that think just because you can walk in and out of your house, that's being free. But it depends where you are going. You know what I mean? And things of that nature. It's being able to be who you want to be, do whatever you want to do at any given time that you feel like. And I don't know about you. I'm working right now, you know, and for some people, they wouldn't constitute that as work. So maybe can you paint a bit of a picture of the sort of women that you work with now? What are they actually navigating, and what's at stake if they actually stay stuck like that?
They are navigating just a complete feeling of feeling meh, to go, you know what? I should be happy because I have everything on paper. Everything looks fine. But there's something missing, and I can't quite put my finger on it. They often, somewhere between 45 and 55, they have very established careers or businesses. They're very successful. But the way they show up, they feel like they have to still kind of put a mask on every day. They're not letting all of their personality show. And for me, it was being spiritual and woo-woo, for a better word. I felt like that had no place in business or in my career. Certainly not something you talk about at work. And yes, yoga has become mainstream, and Sound Journey maybe as well. But some of the other things that I have incorporated and really explored on a deeper level feels like, oh, that's not something you would want to have everyone necessarily know about. And when you integrate all of who you are, then you become whole, and you're not feeling like you have to show up and act, which is what we do. And I used to do that when I went and dragged myself into that corporate office every morning. I didn't show up the way I normally am in my private life. So I think it's a lot of integration, a lot of courage. And the women feel like, oh, whatever she's got, I want some of that. But then they're too scared. There is so much layered on top of them that they feel like I've worked too hard, I sacrificed too much. I'm in my early 50s. I can't possibly change tack in my career. I'm used to the lifestyle, the income, the husband, the children, anything that they have. And I can tell you, there is a way that you can have all of it, but without the burnout. So it's a bit of a deep dive into all the things like the trap door, the bottom of the basement, and there's stuff hidden there, and you've forgotten about it. You're not going into the basement, you just leave the light off, and then someone goes, no, 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 come on, take my hand. We're going to walk down those stairs, and we're going to go there. We're going to go and lift that trap door up and see what's lurking underneath. What are you not being honest about? Because most of my clients eventually admit, yeah, I kind of knew that was part of it. And often that comes with guilt or resentment for themselves. And I said, it's okay. You can keep those pieces and forgive them and forgive yourself for acting a certain way. But if you want to change, the pain becomes so big of what you are missing out on in your life. What is there? There must be more. So I think it's just a general feeling of despair, where they go, why am I feeling this way? And yes, menopause is a big catalyst often. I've gone through that. It certainly accelerates and exacerbates stuff. But I think it's just a feeling of, why am I feeling so out of sorts? Why am I not happy? I should be this, I should be that. And that's a good place to go, okay, let's dive deeper. Let's see what's in the shadow.
I like that. And I quite like also how you give a visual of, let's hold your hand, because so many people are afraid, like you say, to look at what's underneath. And one thing that I love about what you've gone on and created is your method, the realign method, and maybe we can go into that a little bit. But real talk, what is the hardest part of being in alignment that most women resist?
I think the setting the boundaries and being able to say no to the things that don't feel like it's part of their life anymore, because it can often mean upheaval. It does can be a complete 180-degree turn. And that's scary because not only does that affect them, but they could be seen as, that's that old conditioning, don't rock the boat, carry on, don't be difficult, don't be bitchy, don't be XYZ. So we let the outside world dictate how we live our life, instead of going, you know what? This is me. I only have the one life, and I really want to do this, and I want to do that, and I'm going to make that happen. And if someone wants to rain on my parade, I'm going to just take an umbrella and carry on walking. And that is not an easy thing to do, depending on what we believe is possible for us. So I've changed my title on my business card to Wild Executive and Possibility Agent, because I have changed from a six-figure career when I was working 60 hours a week with no hobbies, no friends. It was just go, 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 and on the whiff of adrenaline and all of that, to waking up in the morning. I'm no longer using an alarm. I haven't for a while. So I've really tuned in with that circadian rhythm for the sake of my hormones and everything. So I learned on a deep level what my body and my spirit and everything needs to feel grounded and to feel fulfilled and grateful. Not so much happy, because happy, I believe, is a choice. And I know some people will disagree with it. But if I wake up in the morning and keep that time to myself before my son needs to go to school, the husband goes to work, I sit in my spa with my cacao in the morning, look at the stars, and I'm still. And I'm looking at my whole day in my mind, and I'm expecting this is going to work out perfect. This is going to be amazing. I'm gonna come on this show this afternoon, and then after that I can go for a walk in the sun. So my whole day looks pretty great. And then I'm really grateful for that. And with that attitude, starting your day, it's very different than having your alarm rattle you awake and hitting snooze for 3 times and going, oh, I have to go to that place today. And then out of the sudden you go, oh, I forgot to put the rubbish bin out, and 3 emails are waiting already before I had my first coffee. So it's the choices you make for yourself. And that's often the hardest habit to break. Your pain and your feeling of unfulfillment needs to become greater than what you have for you to really go into this. And I needed help for this. I have done a whole lot of work and worked with various different peoples over that 10 year. I would have never gotten out of this myself. So I believe in putting value on your well-being and wellness and investing in yourself. It's not selfish. It means that you can, if you want to change something, get help to do it, because then you have somebody that can take you by the hand and guide you, instead of just floundering and still having another year go past. The question I always ask a woman, what is the cost of not changing? Is that going to end up in divorce? Is that going to end up in you having a breakdown? Are you going to have a serious illness? For me, my body was the one that shut down and go, look, you're not listening. I keep repeating that lesson. You can't carry on like this. And eventually I broke and crumbled. And now I can look with the wisdom of hindsight to go, I'm glad that happened, because my life is vastly different. And yes, while there was a lot of heartbreak along the way, I kind of felt like it was a course correction. If I hadn't gone through all of this, I perhaps would have not evolved the way I have. And I think stepping out of that box that you are in and you feel trapped with the lid on top, you step out of it and you go into a spiral, and it never really finishes. It goes wider and higher, but then you have the awareness to go, you catch yourself in situations and go, oh, that's old me. Let's just look at it and say, it's fine. I'm going to release that, because that is no longer me. And then you can carry on from that place. And the universe leaves clues. You get little things and you go, oh, and you follow the crumbs, and out of the sudden you go, oh my goodness, there's a whole new path for me. Who knew? So that's kind of the best way I can frame that.
Absolutely. And obviously, just hearing you talk, you can tell that all that past and all those things have been let go, because so many people are holding on to those things, and it's literally it's like holding rocks and you're in a pool. You will get to the bottom of the pool, you know, it will sink you in. And there's one fascinating thing here, Tina. You speak very openly about your past struggles and having maybe gone past them. But have you ever had moments where maybe you've had those patterns maybe creeping back up and saying, hey, I still forgotten, or we're here, you know?
Of course, it never finishes. Like the spiral, sometimes you go and go, something comes past and you go, huh, didn't I deal with that last year at the same time? So you make peace with that. It's just another layer of something. And I mean, for me, that not feeling good enough, I mean, menopause is a whole big thing. And for those women who are going through that one, it's not an easy thing. She certainly went to town on me. And I had to learn to love myself in a whole different way, because everything changes, your body, your mindset. But there's also a lot of freedom and responsibility that comes with it. We, I guess, become the elders. And we are now the women we didn't have to look up to when we were younger, when we were going through that one. So I think I would do the world a disservice if I wouldn't speak openly, because if I can just make a difference in one young woman who does have a miscarriage, to really have somebody not try and give them unsolicited advice, or so it's all going to be fine. Allow yourself to feel like crap, to go there, to fall apart. But there are women out there who can hold you, and to really keep that safe cocoon for you to put yourself back together after you break in your own terms for your whole new world, because you're not going to be the same ever. And we can grieve. I have moments where I go, oh, my first miscarriage happened the day Michael Jackson passed away. So whenever I sometimes see things pop up on the social media and think, I go, I remember that vividly, and it takes you back to that moment. And there have been times on my journey where I could have not been speaking openly about it without tearing up or welling up. And while I haven't forgotten it, my legacy of my unborn children is captured in the book, because that was part of the reason why I said one day I'll write a story. I owe that to my unborn babies. And that is such a healing thing that you can do. There's no bigger personal cathartic process than writing your story in a book and putting it out there. And that is the beauty. It is a legacy. It's not a podcast. It's not an Instagram story. It's actually there forever. It's spelling. They call it spelling for a reason. You're casting a spell. You're letting it go. So I can say that that was part of my journey, but it did not define me. Yes, it broke me at the time, but it corrected my course in ways I would have not ever had imagined.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for opening us up to that, because, you know, so many people, when something happens to them, they literally curl up in, you know, that fetal position and never get past it. But this looks like it's something that actually happened for you, and you went on, you've written the book, the Corporate Rewilding. What's one maybe myth about, let's just say, success that you are absolutely done with, that a lot of people have and they're holding on to, that you bust in this book?
I think the fact that we think success comes with sacrifice and with martyrdom. Success is hard work, and you will attest to that. Nothing comes from nothing. But if it's something that really is a purpose and is in alignment with what we want to do and what we enjoy when we're in our zone, where time falls away, like this today is like, I could do this all day, every day, because I'm talking about something I'm truly passionate about, helping women. And I know that there are people out there who go, wow, I love that. Someone actually speaks about this openly. Thank you. And the more we do it, the more we become a catalyst for change. And especially with what's going on in the world on a greater scheme, imagine we had more female leaders. You touched on feminine leadership. I think we are more compassionate. And women need to understand that just because you're asking for help or you are vulnerable does not make you incompetent. Certainly not at work. We're not going to have our period and ruin a business empire. And I think that is a very old mindset. Yet we are still acting from some of that place. And my biggest passion is about collaborating from a lived heart space, not pretending to be networking, but then flogging all our wares because it's all about us. That scarcity thing that we would have to compete with one another, that is outdated. If we can just, lock arms and go, let's really create something here and leave all the petty competitiveness away, we would get ahead a lot faster because we're just walking one another home. That's the way I look at it. So there is no competition. Only you can be the true you. There's no carbon copy like a fingerprint. No one can be me. We can all work in different spaces, but I can be on a panel with 5 other embodiment coaches and we all have a different frequency. And I'm not everyone's cup of tea. But then for those who I am, that's just going to be an amazing client relationship. I don't want to work with everybody. I need to really be able to feel the woman and have that connection to be able to help her through that. And I think that's part of being in alignment. You radiate something that is unique to yourself, and you're not sugarcoating anything. You're not pretending to censor your own words. You're just being you, perfectly imperfect. That's the way. There's no such thing as perfectionism. And the more we understand that, the more we can be daring to, hit record on a Facebook Live at 8 o'clock in the morning when we may not be done up for stage appearance. Just be you. It's not that scary.
Absolutely. You see, I viscerally believe, and thank you so much for giving us, because I feel like you're giving people permission, because everybody is really uptight about, oh, this is my IP, my, ideas and things of that nature. I mean, case in point, we had a conversation not so long ago in your first episode, and if you want to compare that episode to this episode, it's completely different, but it's still the same people that are having that particular conversation. So there's never a way that anything can ever be the same, no matter what. Even if somebody tries to copy you, they would not come at it at like exactly that same particular way and things like that. And I feel like people that have a scarcity mindset, they're not creating enough. Because when you go into creating a book or show and thing like this, you will start noticing the uniqueness of your stories, your experiences, and everything else, the people that came to you at the time that it happened and all that stuff. That could never be the same with anyone.
Yeah, that's a very important one. And I can't speak into this enough. If we start collaborating and finding true connection, we can do big things. I really truly believe that, because we're natural nurturers. We're supposed to be compassionate. And I think for leadership, having more women in senior positions that show up in their feminine, not try and emulate everybody else in the office, which is predominantly male still, then we would actually have a much better, I think a much softer and a much more open way of handling conflict, perhaps, of looking at ways to go through. I mean, success doesn't mean pushing and grinding a day in, day out. We are not just living to go to work. And I mean, this is something that was handed to me in the cradle. It was modeled to me by my father in his business and by my environment. So I had to break out of some serious epigenetical beliefs that I took all the way from Germany to New Zealand. And at first I didn't realize it, but you can't quite get that out of you just by moving to the other side of the world. You cannot escape your inner world. The only way out is actually in, by looking at your stuff. So I think coming out of that victim mentality that we think everything is just happening to us, and being honest that by the way we, live into patterns and we react to certain things, we're actively participating in the circumstances that we're in within reason. And I say this with compassion, and I say this from having done a lot of sweeping in my own chimney. It's not an easy one to accept, because we often go, oh yeah, but why is he like this? It's like, there's always a two-way street in every relationship, there's cause and effect. And looking at yourself, honestly, is a very, very big part of that realign journey.
Absolutely. I mean, when you're talking about the differences, the stark differences between Germany and obviously New Zealand. For starters, you guys drive on a weird side of the road. And for the second thing, in Germany, the Autobahn doesn't have any speed limits. You know what I mean? So you can only imagine that's a whole difference as well. When you then come in to like New Zealand or Australia, you're like, oh, wait a minute, you guys, 40 is a speed limit? you
And
know,
then there's the language and the accent. I thought I spoke English when I moved down here. So that's a whole nother book that's coming out. And then I married someone from the Pacific Islands.
oh,
So there's Tonga and there's Germany. I mean, from a cultural difference and gap, can't
yeah.
get any further apart, I suppose. But that's another book.
Absolutely. But, let's just play devil's advocate here. I mean, you're talking about beliefs and the way people have been brought up and the way they sort of see the world and things like that. So many people feel like self-alignment or self-care or things of that nature sounds indulgent and maybe a bit selfish or things of that nature. What would you say to people that say that?
I think they haven't been honest. I mean, I used to be somebody who even just the name, a Tony Robbins thing is that, oh God, not that hogwash. The whole self-development thing, it was just so far out on the limb for me. Then I go, yeah, no, that's nonsense. I am who I am, and I kind of carried on my lane until the universe was starting. Oh no, there's a road con here. There's a speed hump over here. Um, it is not hogwash and wishy-washy. We're not meant to be the same. There is an evolution. We do not stay stagnant, and we have different seasons in life. All of the lived experiences imprint on us on how we continue. The more, and I don't like to use the word resilience because that feels like you're not feeling, you're letting things, I think, bounce off you. You actually allow yourself to feel. And for women, there's two emotions that women have the biggest trouble expressing, and it's not openly invited by society. The first one is anger, and the second one is grief. So by being able to unpack those experiences that we might have when we were sad, the trauma part, or where we were really angry, they're powerful emotions when you let them come out of your body, because somatic is the body, it's the feeling body. And if we haven't allowed ourselves to let that out, it's like a pressure cooker that never had the valve opened for steam to explode. And it's a really fascinating topic because my martial arts career has shown me that when I punch and do certain movements in karate, I let all of it out. There is a voice that comes from deep within your hara, which is your inner core. We're not meant to talk like that. And if you then become a speaker, when you work with your voice, there is a frequency and a power on how you can address an audience without shouting. It comes from within. If we have anything bottled up, and for me it was the grief, I did not allow myself to think that I've gone through trauma, because I thought trauma was much more serious. But it's even words that were given to us, they can leave traumatic reactions in us as children, something where we form an identity and a belief, and we carry that through our life, and we're acting from that limited belief system, not from who we actually are. I was always loud and outspoken. What was given to me was, oh, you should tone it down a bit. Don't rock the boat, and you need to be more quiet. You talk too loud, you talk too much. So over the years, I shrunk when I was a girl, and I was taking the horses in the forest and be wild, and didn't really want to do all the girly thing that was appropriate. And we're talking the late 70s, early 80s, so we were at a different stage. And I realized, well, I am wild. I always have been too loud and too outspoken. I'm going to bring that back. I'm going to be unapologetic about it. So it's an evolution, and we need to allow ourselves to evolve and not try and push it down and stay the same.
I sincerely believe you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands full. So many people are holding on to all the past things that happened to them and they're not letting go. And I was listening when you were saying that, with martial arts and everything else, you get to parts of your body that where maybe silent, and when you really reach to them, they release, or things of that nature, because apparently the body keeps score. We might think we're going, but there's certain things that would have happened to us, and it's just waiting for you to revisit that and heal that part. So what does it really feel like when somebody goes through maybe your program and they finally just let go of what's not theirs to carry?
There is often a lot of discomfort in the beginning because they don't know quite what to expect, which is why I hold these things in one-on-one containers, not as a group in that particular layout. And I make them feel okay. I make them feel safe. For women, we have to feel safe to open ourselves. And that can go into various parts in our life, relationships. We need to feel safe to be able to open up. So there's a lot of setting of the scene to make that container okay. And I often do a lot of the talking in the first meeting that I have with the woman, because it takes time for her to feel me, to have that trust, and then to go, okay, let's go in there. And because I work really intuitively with my body, I can go and go, come back. I feel like, okay, she's diverting. I go, no, come back to this. I feel like there's resistance. There feels like there's another layer. And that's where the embodiment coaching comes in for my side of what I've gone through. I read temperature. And out of the sudden, I'm able to frame some conversations that women often haven't had with anybody, and not sometimes even in that shape or form with themselves. And then there's break where there's often a lot of emotion. And I also have certain things that I get them to do in between, catching up with them on Zoom or meeting with them in person, to what I want them to do and explore. And I'm not somebody who goes, okay, I'll see you in 2 weeks. There's a lot of correspondence and dialogue through WhatsApp in between, so I can check in to go, so how did that land? How are you feeling about that? Are you doing this thing? It's not just the accountability. There's the continuous energetic cord that you have with somebody when you really dive really deep into those places. And the transformation is sometimes quite mind-boggling when I get people. I've got some beautiful testimonials on my website where I feel humbled, because I often struggle to understand, to articulate fully what happens to someone, because it's such a personal journey. But it's a beautiful one, and it's not a pretty one. There's a lot of tears and a lot of emotions, but that is what's needed to crack that shell open. And chrysalis is the best way I can think of, is like you are a caterpillar, you're going into that cocoon, into that safety, then you're dissolving parts of who you were, and then you nurture and you ground, and eventually you break out at the other end. You go, oh, I'm different. And it takes a while, which is why the integration is important, to go, you create awareness. You're not going to completely change overnight. It's those steps and coming back to what you've learned. So you understand that you still often have feelings come into your head, and it's okay. It's just understanding why we have them, to not attach to them or put meaning to them that no longer exists. And then you alchemize them and you let it go. And eventually you go, oh, look at that, I've got wings. And then I'm fully dried, so maybe I should try flying now. So women have changed careers. They've, yes, also divorced. They really turned their life upside down and inside out. And some of them said, I can't tell you how glad I am that I found you, because I did not think this was possible for me. And I think that is the biggest smile that you can put on my face when I really, really feel their change and their joy. And I see them, what they're doing now, and going, wow, completely different woman. And it's beautiful.
Absolutely. It's like you're literally giving them back to themselves, like they've
Return to
always,
essence is what I use, the terminology.
yeah, return to essence. Now, I just wanted to maybe, clarify this, because obviously you did mention the whole embodiment side of things, where you kind of feel through talking to them and things of that nature. It's a two-part question here. How do you know you're not giving them answers that are supposed to be yours? you know what I mean? Like there's that separation of how do you know it's you and them separating, you know, as two separate individuals. And there's also a part that while I was researching what you've been working on and things like that, you mentioned a moment at a retreat where you actually finally heard your own voice, you know, like your own internal voice. First of all, what does that sound like? And can anybody else hear it?
I do a lot of listening, and I ask a lot of questions,
Mm.
and I let the woman do a lot of inquiry, so they kind of unearthing these things on their own terms, in their own time, because I don't want to pass on. I don't have the answers. I can't fix them. I can't heal them, which is why I always have a call with someone who's interested in working with me to see whether I feel like I can actually progress with them. Because sometimes there are women, and they become a lot less over the years as I really grounded into my work. You can't be fixed by somebody else. If you're not willing to want to change and willing to go there, there is nothing I can do or anybody else can do to fix something for them. So whenever I feel that's not quite it's not quite in tune, then I say I don't think that is the right cooperation and work. I don't think that will work for you. It will not give you an outcome because you need to open up. You can't be a clam and carrying through these 8 weeks. You will not get down to where we need to go. And that's a trust thing. And you will eventually find your inner voice in a lot of stillness. So part of these inquiries are to go and accept and make peace with your past, whatever you've gone through. And in my capacity as a book doula, I've worked with some women who've gone through some really, really deep things, and you realize they going through it. They actually openly embracing is the wrong word, but I guess making peace with it is probably the best way to describe it. To go, I'm not going to let this define me, and I'm not going to let this break me. But it comes from not a I'm also strong. I'm actually, I am vulnerable. I have good days and bad days, and this will always be there. But I'm no longer scared of the dark trapdoor in the basement. I know it's there, and I put it to the light, but it sits on a shelf, and I can walk past it without me feeling scared. I think it's when your body stops reacting to certain things. You become, it's a hard feeling to explain. You become lighter from an emotional point of view, and then you see the change, and others notice it before you do. They literally go and say, I had a client say to me, wow, my family noticed the difference now that I'm doing this and that, and they said it was noticeable. I said, what have you been doing? You look different. So I think it's others that sense that more so than us when we're in the process. I hope that answers it.
I quite like that. You see, I don't know about New Zealand, but in Australia, we've got low cost airlines where they lure you to come to the airline and then they say it's $50 to go to Sydney, you know, and you'll be like, yeah, I think I'll go for it. But they give you a strict luggage you know, number, maybe it's 7 kilos or things like that. If you go 7.1, you automatically pay for the whole flight, you know what I mean? So what I'm just trying to say here is it's very expensive to travel heavy. You know, it costs you a lot because so many people are holding on to so much that they could just let go and things of that nature. So maybe tell us a little bit about this Realign group program. You're launching this in August, right? Who is it
In
for?
August,
Yeah, who is it for, and what makes it very very special at this particular time in life? And also maybe if you want, you can double that up with the book doula you know, service that you're offering as well, because I feel like it's aligned. Yeah.
one of my passions that I have is holding women's circles, and I do this with my other business called the Sacred Circle. And I find that when we come together and when we all hear each other share, there's a lot of power when we go through things together. And normally I do this, I have done it only one-on-one. I felt it's time to really hold small groups where women, I mean, there's still a personal choice. They can still work with me one-on-one. If it's something really traumatic, they go, look, I don't think I can really share this with others. But I found by being together vulnerable and listening to others, that permission process ends up being in a little group where we openly sharing. So we actually vulnerable every time we come together online to listen to progress or what has come up for you, share that with the group. It does, and partners in crime is the wrong word, but it does really seal a sacred bubble to go, well, we're all in this together. And when we're feeling like we can't possibly finish this, or I don't really want to go there, someone else has gone one step ahead as that walking each other home again. And I love holding space like that. So there's only going to be 6 spaces because I want it to be intimate. And it's an 8-week journey to go through all the parts of REALIGN together and then come out the other end changed and different and continue the community. So if I do run those programs, I have that vision that we can all stay in contact and have that community to go, wow, a year on, look where we've come from. Look at everything that I've changed in my life. So we can cheerlead within that while we're in the process of returning to our essence, because it is inspiring. So that's what prompted me to start that, and I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. And where can people go on the internet to maybe get started on this journey or read a little bit more about you or actually connect with you?
The easiest one was my website, the fempreneurpathfinder.com, which I'm sure will be in the show note. Or you can look at Instagram when it launches. There's going to be you can book a call with me because I would like to have the right women in that space. So I always have that conversation, whether it's a group or if it's a one-on-one. And on Instagram, you find me on _fempreneur and on LinkedIn at Tina K Kailea. Look for the pink jacket, and then you can't miss that.
Absolutely. I'll definitely make sure that all those links are in the show notes below. All right. Now, Tina, I'll tell you something. When we first spoke, I thought, wow, this lady was full of energy and everything else. I just felt like you said, about the conversation that we had. And when it came to me saying, yeah, let's have a chat again, you were one of the first people I wanted to have again on the show. But today you've blown my mind again. And, your life story and your experience and what you've gone through and just the growth that has happened in the last time, from that time to now. Maybe my memory is bled, but no, I remember we had loads of fun me trying to speak in German and things like that. Now, with this growth that you've had, this is something to celebrate. This is something to really, really appreciate because it's not easy. You've had to go through a lot to get past, everything that has happened. If you could maybe reflect back and maybe look at that younger Tina who was climbing the corporate ladder, doing everything that needed to be done with whatever version of success she had at that particular time, and you would meet her in one of your retreats or one of the things that you're now doing, what would you whisper to her, if you could just sit beside her for just 1 minute, knowing what you know now about life?
I would tell her to stop thinking too much about what other people think of her. And then I would tell her that you need to go and turn fear into excitement and see there's opportunity on the other side of fear that will blow your mind.
Wow. 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 I think this is, fantastic. And also knowing the person that you've become. Is there something that you thought you had to sacrifice for success, but now you realize it was never yours to give up in the first place?
My wild nature. I thought I had to curb her, tuck her away, put a beige power suit on her, and let the rest shrivel away in the dark corner. And being that freedom, you can live life on your terms. And that is something that blows my mind because I would have never thought what I do now and how I live my days and how I work would have been remotely possible for me. So yeah, my next level is definitely unapologetic, and it's a vibe, and I think it rubs off hopefully on lots out there who think I can't possibly do that. Yes, you can. If I can, you can.
Absolutely. Now, Tina, you know what this means. You're gonna have to come back again next year to prove this.
Or I would have been holding book writing retreats and menopause retreats, and I would have been on a TEDx stage by there. So yes, let's make a date next year, 23rd of July.
Absolutely. I can't thank you enough for taking us up on the offer to be on the show for the very second time. And I'm getting used to this. So we might as well just make it a yearly series, actually.
Make it a date. Yes, I'm up for that.
For those that are
Thank you
watching,
so much.
not a problem. For those that are watching or listening, if you are still listening, I think it means one thing. A part of you is ready to realign. So maybe, you've been pushing or trying to prove, or maybe just performing your way through life. I don't know. You've probably worn the mask of success so well that you actually have forgotten what your real face looks like. Or maybe you've just done with that whole burnout badge of honor. I think Tina is living proof that you don't have to choose between impact, integrity, ambition, or alignment. It's not either or. Why not have it all for yourself? So if something stirred inside of you today, just don't park this video as one of those videos you've actually watched. I encourage you to actually go check out Tina's upcoming REALIGN group program. Grab her book, Corporate Rewilding. I'll be putting all those show notes in the, all those links in the show notes. Or better yet, I want you to share this episode with another person, preferably a woman who you know is ready to come home to herself. And she needs to see what Tina has done and is doing to help others be, do, and have a happier existence. And if you're brave enough, just tell us in the comments, what is the one thing in your life that you're ready to realign? And I bet Tina is going to be in those comments as well, helping you, or holding your hand, on the way back home, as she keeps saying. I think this has been a wonderful episode, Tina, and I can't wait to see what people are going to do with this information out there. And if you're still watching, I can't wait to see what you'll do. So keep evolving, keep expanding, and above all, stay unapologetically you. Bye for now.